I should make it clear that I was one of many people that stepped forward on what was a difficult day. Incredible to hear gunshots, high-velocity shots in Parliament, of all places. It was like any other day, a very bustly, busy Parliament. The division bell had gone. We were all moving towards the division lobbies in the main chamber, and then to hear the gunshots, the sounds, it's the whole palace was subsumed by chaos and panic, and then to move forward and find the professionalism of our police force, who had already established a gun line pointing towards the carriage gates to protect the rest of Parliament from any further attack, and then to see PC Keith Palmer on the ground losing a lot of blood with officers trying to help. I simply moved forward to see what I could do.
What happened next?
We had a pulse. It was clear that I said I was trained as a medic, and could I assist? And they said, tell us what to do. And I then, as with all these situations, your training kicks in, and we did our best to try and stem the flow of bleeding and cut back the flak jackets and so forth, call for help, get the medics in. The medics asked me to continue working, and then the helicopter arrived, and the doctors turned up as well, and I was expecting him to be put in the helicopter and taken away, but no, you have to stabilize the body first, and I was asked to continue. And it was very distraught then to find that much as everybody had worked so hard, that we weren't able to keep him alive. Unlike the true professionals they are, the medics, realizing that this was a bigger scenario, that so many people had been killed on the bridge, grabbed their medical equipment and moved out onto the bridge to help those who had been affected there, leaving a few of us now with all the streets isolated in a very eerie silence, having to come to terms with what was a very, very sad day indeed.
In these circumstances, I mean, you were carrying out chest compressions, I believe, and mouth-to-mouth, doing everything that you could, and the doctors asked you to continue on with that. There is that moment, isn't there, when someone has to call it, but you don't want to hear that, do you? You just want to continue on for as long as you possibly can.
That is what you want to do. You don't want to be the person to call it, and I was very grateful that there was a professional doctor there to tell me to stop. And then, as I say, he got his kit along with the others and moved straight to the bridge to see what emergency provision could be provided there as well. It's I mean, a year's reflection. There were more terrorist attacks, as we know, Grenfell and so forth. It shows what dangerous times we're living in, and I have such respect for all police officers. I'm from an armed forces background. There's a fraternity, a sense of comradeship, but I see that that's absolutely reflected in our valiant police force, who, the officers get up every day, say goodbye to their loved ones, not knowing how their day will unfold. And certainly it was absolutely the case with Keith Palmer. And yet they do their duty. And in this case, they protect us in Parliament. And I was pleased that the Prime Minister led the tributes to PC Keith Palmer for what he did in service to us in protecting us.
I know that you were a captain in, I think, the Royal Green Jackets, which is where your medical training had come from. And I was reading at the weekend that you still feel now, a year on, you question whether or not there was anything more that you or others could have done, but the answer is no, isn't it?
You are faced with these very difficult questions, of course, and it was an extremely difficult day, and all I can do now is to say what a challenging world we now live in. Very sadly, I was affected by a personal incident in 2002 when I lost my brother to a terrorist attack, and I think what also is challenging for me is the fact that we live in a more ever dangerous world, the more volatile, more difficult to predict world, and we need to step up. We need to be valiant. We need to lean into this. In fact, the reaction by everybody, whether it be in Manchester or indeed London Bridge, was actually don't let the terrorists win. Don't let them have their day, but us to be determined that our communities will be stronger for it and not be divided. But we are seeing, as we saw with what happened in Salisbury, police forces do their duty, our armed forces do their duty as well. But I think we need to ask ourselves as a nation, is there more that we can do in what seems to be a very changing and dark chapter that we're enduring?
Yeah, I know you lost John in the Bali bombings, and very soon after what happened at Westminster, we saw Borough Market. You talked about Manchester Arena attacks as well. In answer to the question that you've just posed, what is the answer? What more can we do?
This is something that I think as a nation we have to ask ourselves. There are few states in the world that have the ability and the desire to step forward. We're seeing resurgent nations doing their own thing. We're seeing non-state actors. Daesh hasn't disappeared. Extremism is still there. We're still going to get terrorist attacks unless we lead. We've done it in the past. We've endured harder times. And we're measured not just on the successes of this country, but how we deal with the challenges. And we need to, I think, regroup on this and work with our allies and recognize that unless we do step forward, then these will become norms. The interference in elections, the interference in cyber attacks and so forth, the conduct of war is changing around us, and further attacks in the UK could very well be inevitable unless we stand up to this, and I think we have the ability to do that.
And not just from ISIS, of course. We've seen other attacks from other, we don't know exactly who carried out attacks in Salisbury, but we need to be, as a nation, always, I think the phrase is alert but not alarmed.
That's exactly it. But I think Britain does more than that. You know, there's this phrase that we use that, you know, we sort of keep calm and we do carry on with our lives. We don't want the terrorists to win, but I think we have to do more than that now. We have to recognize that there are a few nations in the world that will stand up to tyranny, that will stand up to protecting the very rules that have actually guided and supported peace for the last, relative peace for the last 3 or 4 decades. But that is starting to erode around us, and I think we need to look forward to the future and sort of revisit that sort of Churchillian spirit that has seen us endure bigger challenges in the past.
You have 2 very deep scars from the effects of terrorism. How do you not allow that to instill itself as hatred in you?
I think this is it, is recognizing that if you did allow that to happen, you actually allow the terrorists to ring. They want to divide us. They want to cause hatred. They want us to sow the seeds of doubt. And we need to remind ourselves that actually what Britain is about is something very different. We uphold the rule of law. We are the professionalism, our armed forces, of our police and so forth, is an accolade, is a measurement for which other countries around the world judge themselves on. And if we let our standards drop, then the terrorist does win. And that would be a very bad day indeed.
What do you plan to do tomorrow?
There are a series of services that are taking place. It's going to be a very somber day for all parliamentarians. But again, I think a recognition that, and tributes and thoughts and prayers to the friends and family of PC Keith Palmer, but also recognition that our police force do an incredible job in Britain in keeping us safe, and particularly in Parliament.